Hello there. As I mentioned in the Daily Dominion I uploaded earlier today, I thought, why not, since we didn't have audio for 9 days, I'll go back and maybe say a word about the various kingdoms and then replay the 18th and try to fill it in with a win, which is the only one I lost during the phone era. I got a lot of comments, as I did last year, about the audio going away. I think I probably would have had to put a disclaimer visible in every video for that to not occur. I did my best to try and warn and mention it, but there's only so much effort I'm going to put forth while traveling to communicate these things. So there are many questions. The lack of audio was intentional, and it was just because I was recording on my phone because I was away from my home. But anyway, I'm back now, so I'm going to just look at the kingdoms. I thought they were pretty fun by and large, and it's kind of nice recording on my phone also. You just kind of play it pretty quickly most of the time, and there was something pure about it for me. Even if, of course, the interest as a video goes down considerably. So, all right, let's look at the 11th. The only one I'm gonna play is the 18th, but I'm gonna talk about the kingdoms real quickly because I thought they were kind of neat. So we can just do it in this view. I can't even scroll down. Oh, there isn't anything down there, of course. Okay, so and this kingdom was all about trail, and it had 2 discard attacks, but that's not really what the notable interaction was. Trail as defense against discard attacks is kind of stupid. It doesn't really mean much. But trail as enabled by things you are trashing or discarding is quite good. So there are 2 big things here that made trail basically a powerful village here, as well as a powerful source of gains, which was develop. And I think Spice Merchant develop here is like clearly the winning opening. I don't think anything else is even remotely close to it. And you're just trying to remove the coppers quickly with Spice Merchant and then buy trails and you're not really looking to buy 5s. You're just looking to gain them pretty much. You can buy them, but, and Souk was always, I didn't end up with a Souk, I don't think. I don't remember. Maybe I ended up with 1. But Souk is good against discard attacks and stuff, but I think the other 5s are just a little more powerful here. And you don't necessarily need the trashing from Souk. But I think an opportunistic Souk could make a lot of sense here. So we were just looking to trash thin down with Spice Merchant, play develop on trail. When you do that, you can get a 5 and a 3. So we end up with a lot of silvers in this deck. If it became unmanageable, you can always trash silvers to Spice Merchant. And then Witch's Hut also allowed the trails to really function as a village for us while cursing. So it was kind of a brutal board for the AI, right? Because they're not super good at putting all these things together. And then they were under both a cursing and a constant discard attack. And then Crossroads supplemented a little bit with village. And I think I even did some haggler stuff, although that wasn't important in any way. And Berserker was nice for just picking up extra trails. So it all came together. We had massive split on the trails and it wasn't close. So overall pretty nice. I guess I'm going to have to go all the way. I guess I can resign. I don't know where it takes me. Okay, that'll be a reasonable way to do this. Okay. This kingdom was pretty weird, or a little weird. It had some nice stuff with both of the landscapes. Canal could make your cards cost 1 less, which was really important for Sculptor, which allows Sculptor to gain all of the 5s, including itself. And then Capitalism, I bought it. I don't know. It's not super important here, but it does allow you to play patrons. I mean, the main thing is, I guess, Patron Barbarian, or the only thing is Patron Barbarian, which allows you to stock up villagers more easily and then play more barbarians at the end. But the reason Capitalism wasn't that important is because you were largely trying to play things before playing a scholar, so you're mostly trying to play these cards in your action phase anyway. In the game itself, Hard AI really actually built a reasonably good deck. They had a good number of sculptors. They were gaining a lot of stuff. But they somehow weren't ever in a position to like threaten either pile out or really score. It was kind of weird. They looked scarier than they ended up being. Their Barbarian hit our sculptors 1 billion times. That was pretty awful. But we still made it through. I think I'm sure I opened Patron Sentinel. That still looks the best to me. Maybe you could do Research Sentinel. Maybe I did that. I don't remember. But surely it was Patron. And Scholar is just really, really good draw here. Everything works well with Scholar. I know they had 1 million mountain villages. So I didn't end up with very many mountain villages. And then occasionally actions were a little awkward. I think our draws were pretty bad, if I remember correctly, and so it kind of looked closer than it was, but they had never really put payload together to threaten too much, so it ended up fine, and we won pretty cleanly. I think this was one where we greened a little bit earlier and then kind of rode that to an eventual pile out. And we ended up hurting them quite a bit with Barbarian, but it took a long time to get going, and really it should be a pretty fast board. What killed us were the Barbarian hits, but I don't know if this is of any interest at all. This kingdom was crazy. This was just like I had a 5-2 when I played it in the daily as well, which is like a pretty easy cage quartermaster. Our quartermasters, I don't remember, the first one maybe came out earlier, but some of the later ones came out kind of slowly. What you can do on this kingdom here that's kind of wild. Hasty is on tools, and then so you would play, if you gained a tool, you would play it at the start of your next turn, which would activate landing parties, so you could get landing parties back quite easily. And everything you were playing with was a duration or a tools, basically, so you could just gain 1 million quartermasters, landing parties. You could have gained more cages if you wanted to, using the tools thing, which gains a copy of the card in play. So we didn't end up, I don't think I even touched anything but cage, tools, quartermaster, and landing party, and then eventually the tunnels. I think what I messed up on is very early on I wasn't using tools to gain tools often enough. I should have been doing that more. Because that just delays the gain by like a turn, and it's kind of draw neutral, or it's not too bad against draw to have those stop cards. But we ended up just pretty massively ahead as far as gaining goes, and so we were able to pile. It was ultimately a 4 pile, I think. I think cage, quartermaster, tunnel, and landing, or tools, quartermaster, tunnel, and landing party all piled out, and we also got a few estates to go. So it was basically a VP rush. It was very quick. I think it was like 10 or 11 turns, and that's sort of what I would expect for this kingdom more or less every time. You can just, without tunnels, maybe there's a window where you can build up enough to buy a province, and then the rush doesn't look so good, but well, it wouldn't be a rush, I guess, but you would still be able to rush all the gainers, and having the landing party tools trick going on is still quite powerful, no matter what you end up scoring with. I think in my game, the Hardy, I had Fool's Golds and stuff, which looked pretty awful to me. This kingdom was really clean, I remember. All we did was investment, marquee, bank, and specialist. We didn't mess around with the ally. We didn't mess around with the liaison. So all we did was buy some investments, trash a little bit, buy marquee, buy bank. We had 1 specialist, I think 1 or 2 marquees, like 2 or 3 banks. And we were fortunate enough to pair specialist marquee 1 turn, drew deck, or I guess we ended up with at least 1 innkeeper, but it was more or less there just for like a little consistency, and then it could be discarded to marquee if we hit a big hand. But we didn't play with anything else, and we drew a big hand, hit specialist marquee. We got like 7 VP off our 2 investments, and then we were like, It was just like silvers and banks, and pretty much any turn we played a marquee was like a double province turn, and we went quite fast, and it was, I don't know, I mean, you could maybe do something fast that ultimately plays possessions a lot. That's not impossible here, but I didn't mess around with it. And so the greening path is pretty clean here. It was actually, I thought, a pretty fun deck because of how, I don't know, it felt very pure. Even though we played with like 4 or 5 of the kingdom cards. It was very fast, just kind of scoring. And I wouldn't really call it an engine, but of course it was massive draw and you had buy-in money, so it was just with only a few cards. This kingdom, this was weird. I think the hard AI just played this not very well. I think we just played Pilgrim money, more or less. We bought a Pilgrim on the $5 hand. We got a really good Pilgrim. We drew Pilgrim, I think, turn 3 and got a nice Souk trash. And then from there, we just kind of went on our way. I don't remember if we bought Groundskeepers or not, or if we just bought Provinces. I think we just bought Provinces, and then when we were ahead, we salted if we didn't have... We even bought some golds, didn't we? Yeah, it was like Pilgrim, Gold, Souk. And so if the Pilgrim and the Souk clashed, you just put the Souk on top for the next turn. And then if you're ahead on Provinces, you could shorten the game quite easily with Salt the Earth, because a Souk turn that hit 8 could salt twice. So it was really fast. I'm not sure you actually have time to like accumulate Groundskeepers and try to catch up on other sources of green. Maybe if there was a plus action so that you could actually gain multiple, like more than 2 green cards a turn. As it was, it looked pretty viable to just speed down the Provinces. So we had good draws at the start to make that happen, and then from there it wasn't particularly close with AI. We were kind of playing the AI strat against the AI, which I don't love doing, but sometimes it's just what you gotta do. I think this was what we did, right? Yeah, okay. Almost done. This is probably even less interesting than the silent video. We're going to play one game. This is just like a wild board. It took us a little while to get it running, but, you know, once you have the King's Court stuff, you can do crazy Artificer things. There's just a million things. Crew, I think, is pretty bad just because you could maybe play with 1, but it doesn't play very well with King's Court, since if you king the crew, it forces the King's Court to stay out. I thought training was pretty pointless here. I think some people were getting it, but I think it's actually not all that good. You mostly just want draw and Artificer stuff, in my opinion. But yeah, we weren't super fast off the go here, but we weren't terrible. And then we did our big finish on farmers markets, King's Courts, and estate pile out. We didn't quite get to I think there were still like 7 or 8 provinces left when we went. We didn't quite, maybe not 7 or 8, but there were quite a few provinces left, and we didn't quite have the resources, as far as I could see, to actually empty the provinces on our big turn. So I just went with the other 3 pile. And we still scored a bunch because we kinged all these farmers markets and got a bunch of points. I guess I should remember to do it this way. I didn't do this for the last kingdom, I'm sorry. Mea culpa. So Slay was really nice. Council Room could have been, I only got 1. I think it potentially could have been important, or you could have used it more to do the big Artificer stuff. The nice thing about horses is when you're doing the Artificer things is that it puts cards in your deck that you can use. Their draw, it's almost like chaff that you can discard to the Artificers, only it's, you know, of course, actually draw as well. So you find it again and you can, but it allows you to inflate the size of the deck such that the Artificer has enough cards in hand to do the discarding, which is kind of nice, especially for like the province things. So And Bobble did okay. I mean, the top decking here is pretty nice, but it wasn't life-changing at any point. And I'm sure we just did some trashing. I think I skipped Temple. I don't remember, though. To me, you're trying to hit 5 and 7, so Temple is pretty bad. You would rather just do Masquerade. I don't remember if I actually stuck to that in the game itself, but in my mind, Temple is just slowing you down from buying the cards you want to buy here. Obviously, if you get really nice Temple draws, it can be fine, but I think I skipped Masquerade and I would do it again. On a 5-2, you'd probably... 5-2 is actually pretty bad here. I don't know what I would do on a 5-2. On a 5-2, you might do Career Bobble, but that also sounds terrible. 5-2 is awful. I don't think I had a 5-2. Okay, this kingdom was remarkably close with Hard AI, and we probably should have lost it, to be honest. I think they played very similar to us. I think we both opened Chapel Silver, and we're doing wheelwright stuff. And the thing that Hard AI kept doing was Hard AI would play wheelwright, and Hard AI, like almost always, if it's Yu Mei, they do it. They almost always proc things because they think it's getting some benefit from it. And so they would play wheelwright. Early on, they bought a wheelwright, and then like the next 2 times they played it, they would play the wheelwright, discard Copper, gain nothing, of course, and then they would play Chapels. And so they were trashing like 3 cards instead of 4 cards to the Chapel. And that happened they at least one time did it with Chapel, and another time they just did it, discard the Copper, and maybe it was Chapel again. I don't remember, but they could have trashed much more quickly if they hadn't been doing that. And I think it would have been really scary in that case. We ended up like pretty equal on wheelwrights and vassals. I was greening a little earlier, but then they had the council rooms there to start doing a little bit of a comeback because they had more money than me, and were able to do some Province Gardens turns that started to look a little scary, but ultimately the half turn from first player was enough to make it so that they didn't actually have threat on us before we did a 3-pile. But this is an extremely good wheelwright board, and I didn't really feel like I played it super bad, but I definitely felt like I missed a turn where there was a turn where I didn't take the right angle and get off quite as well as I could have, because I feel like it should have been more explosive than I was doing. I couldn't figure out when to put the draw in. I put a Smithy in, but didn't really draw it in the order to make it all that helpful for a long time. And so really the Hard AI deck quality wise was pretty close to us, maybe even a little better than us by the end, but it was the point difference. This is a really cool base whatever this set is. Hinterlands 2E board. It's actually a really fun kingdom, I think, because the wheelwright stuff is neat. And you have to kind of figure out if the value of the council room plus buy is high enough to give them the card, because it may take a little while before you have the money for it. But anyway, it was a very nice base board for sure. I hope that's it. Okay, I'll talk about the one. What am I trying to do here? I'll talk about this last silent one, and then we'll play the 18th out again. This kingdom is, all adventurous seaside stuff, and so there were a couple of really kind of fun interactions here. The main kind of unique one was Ranger Pilgrimage. We got a Ranger at some point in the game, and we only used it for +5 cards on the very, very last turn. There were other times we used it just to flip the Journey token so that we could buy Pilgrimage and gain the super powerful 5s here in Wharf, Royal Carriage, and Lost City, and then also I think a gold at some point. So Wharf is, as always, extremely good. And then there was just a lot of plenty of villages. It was just basically Wharf money, or not Wharf money, but Wharf using treasures for payload. But we had to kind of figure out a way to put it all in. At one point I bought a copper because I thought it was going to get me to $16, but I didn't end up drawing the next turn. We added a smugglers, which looks pretty good here because they're using pirates to gain golds, or treasure troves maybe gaining golds, and the 5s are quite good, but the smugglers ended up not being really great. I think the first turn we had smugglers, they bought a province. One turn we got a native village. One turn we got a gold, which is nice, and then the last turn I think we got a copper, which didn't matter, but so I think I still kind of like my opening, which was messenger for silvers and buy native village. I'd probably do that again, though I can totally see just like silver, anything that lets you head towards hitting 5 is going to be really, really nice here. So, we made it all work in the end. We very nearly, not dud, it wasn't a dud turn, but we very nearly didn't draw all the deck, but we found a Royal Carriage Ranger at the end of our shuffle or towards the bottom of our shuffle to make it through the rest of the deck. I don't know if we had anything there. We may have already had the money in hand, but Hard I got out to a pretty big points lead, but we were able to sneak it out with the first player turn. And if I played it again, I'd probably play it pretty similar. There may be some. The main question is like, how do you add money to this deck? And so you have to figure out whether you want to gain it with pirate, smugglers, or treasure trove. I think you can't get enough wine merchants fast enough. I think that's probably not the angle. Maybe though. It's not crazy to try it with wine merchant, and I'm not sure these mix. I did smugglers. I basically just bought silvers and had smugglers. That was my thing, which didn't feel super great. So I might try to incorporate something else if I were to do it again. You can certainly get through the coppers and the golds if you use treasure trove just because of Wharf and all the other draw here, but you do have to buy a lot of draw to support that. So whether you have time to do that is another question. But a very nice kingdom, and we bonfired a little bit too to just do a little trashing. Our early draws here were not actually very good because we took a while to hit 5, but part of that was just on the back of us buying the native village. I say that it took a little. We bought a $5 card turn 4, but it was kind of in a weird way. They weren't really bad draws, but the next shuffle was actually kind of bad. So anyway, that was this kingdom. Pretty good one. Like I said, I love this week. I thought the kingdoms were just fantastic pretty much across the board. Bring back log. Okay. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and try number 18, July 18th again. Get in our blue circle. What happened here in the actual game? We got the champion going fast. It was all fine and happy. And then I had a big turn and I bought a duchy over a province because I was kind of thinking if the hard AI doubled or something, then we would lose instantly. But that was like extremely unlikely. They didn't have T-Mog down. They didn't have Haunted Woods down. There was like no chance they were going to double province on the turn. And so I 100% needed to buy the province, and I just didn't do it. And I even thought of it while I was playing, but I kind of convinced myself not to do it. And as a result, we were like $1 short of a win on the next turn. And then the game lasted a couple more turns, but it was like really hard at that point. So we're probably going to play this pretty similarly to the video we did before, but the really nice interaction here on the 4-2, which we have again, thank goodness, is that you can pay $2 to do the traveling fair and then buy a page and top deck the page right away. So the page is going to go on top of our deck. We get to play it turn 2. And we're going to buy a raise here again, and we get a treasure hunter. I think in the actual game, we play the raise right away. But this is fine. So they're going to buy a T-Mog. We also really struggled to hit 5 in our game, which was a problem. If we find the raise, this is okay. If we don't find the raise, it's kind of bad. If we top deck something, maybe I just take the T-Mog. There's some shuffle considerations here about not top decking a raise there. It wouldn't be crazy to do though. I'm gonna top deck raise now. Warrior, this is kind of what some of the things that started happening to us in the real game, where things are missing shuffles, and that's never ideal. We're not gonna have a great T-Mog call here, and the warrior is gonna miss. So we'll say it's actually pretty nice. Actually, I'm gonna decline that. It's pretty nice of them to buy Swamp Hag. I don't think making buys here is very important. So that's kind of nice. There is a port down here, which I'm going to turn into a... Never mind. There's not a port here. Just gain the Haunted Woods. I think we just play this. We're really not moving all that well. I'm not going to buy anything. I don't want to curse. Get to play Haunted Woods here. I don't know what's happening with Hard AI. I'll go ahead and call this since we have a... What they warrior kind of just cover. In the game I played against Hard AI, they they did a bunch of really Haunted Woods quite early on, which made things a little tough. But since they haven't done that so much here, it's not so terrible. Well, this is a little annoying. We may end up in a similar... Okay, they just... Yeah, this will be fine. Oh, I wanted to play the T-Mog, but that's okay. I think here we can really push for drawing pretty big. We probably have time. They're getting attacked a little bit. They're probably not getting a champion. We don't want to like wait forever, but we can't find the other wine merchant to save our lives. That's a bummer. We also did some duplicate stuff, which is all right. I maybe shouldn't have done 4 Haunted Woods there. We'll go back. We'll just do 3 of them. We'll be fine now just because The game's not that close. We'll have to watch out for they have a duplicate in the T-Mog. They probably call no, they don't. They have so many heroes. That's super funny. Well, they score pretty good here. We're not going to hit 24. We don't have anything like that. We may lose here. We still can't find 2 wine merchants on the same turn. They don't have any durations now, though, so just gonna try this. Okay. We should be able to make it with T-Mogging the duchies here. We never played the wine merchants together. I think I have 2, right? I'm not crazy. Yeah. All right. Well, this is pretty similar. The 4-2 is really good. They're just messing around with the golds a little too much. Not enough draw. The swap pack is really bad, but still pretty close. I mean, still quite close. I played that a little too quickly. There were a couple of turns where I could have done some better things, I think, for sure. But this is also a really nice kingdom. I mean, we didn't do it this time. In the original run, we were using some duplicates to try and catch up, which if you fall behind, the duplicates are really nice. We didn't get nearly as clean this run either, I don't think. I feel like we did more trashing. Some of the draws here are really nice, and some of them are really not nice. So I don't know how to evaluate it overall, but we got it done this time, so we'll just take it. And there you go. That was the Silent Week recapped. I hope you could get something out of it, even though maybe it was a little redundant with what has already been put out there. I didn't really have time on the 18th or I didn't think to do it anyway. To replay this and get the yellow circle. So I lost my yellow circle streak, which is kind of sad because I certainly could have played this again and gotten a win. But anyway, I'll just have to live with it somehow, some way. But thank you for watching. And I already said it once today, but I'll say it again. I'll see y'all tomorrow.